Hello everyone. Today I'll be talking about the Crossout Open Beta. It's a game by Gaijin Entertainment, who is the same people that did War Thunder. It's more or less like Mad Max with the vehicle destruction. However, it does also feature a Lego style type of customization and construction. I will give you a brief overview of the game before we discuss what's on the screen. In Crossout, it is all about crafting and PvP. There is several factions, with the engineers being the faction you start with. Once you reach level 10 with engineers, you can move on to some other factions. Those factions then unlock another faction, so on and so forth. Each faction has its own specific blueprints or other things for you to get as you level. Then there's also rewards for leveling with that faction. Realistically, it's all about your playstyle and what works for you. So let me get into what's on the screen. There is only a handful of weapons that are considered in-game, I guess you can say. That is one of the downsides right now with the Crossout beta, is that all the weapons that are considered in-game have an ammo system to them. There are weapons in the game that don't have an ammo system to them, so it makes it kind of difficult to really customize late game as you are really only doing one of a couple things. So this is the engineers faction, and they get the flamethrower and this, the scorpion, which is a pulse accelerator. Let's move into scavengers. Scavengers get the homing missile um, volley system. Then they also get the mammoth, which is a turreted cannon. That's more or less for close range combat. The steppenwolfs have the long range version of a cannon, as seen here. Um, the steppenwolves also have access to the mandrake, which is a howitzer, so it's an artillery piece. So, as you can kind of already see just from those factions right there, that they all have blueprints geared to specific style. Um, Engineers have long range weapons mixed in with some other things. Um, Scavengers have access to brute force weapons, I guess you can say. Steppenwolves have access to long range weapons. Then there's still other factions out there. There's I think they're called the Psychos. They have mostly melee weapons or shotguns. Moving into nomads. Um, Nomads get access to the minigun and a grenade launcher, as seen there. Um, Dawn's Children is all about technology. They don't really have anything to contribute in terms of weapons towards in-game. They actually contribute in other ways. One of them is this right here, which is the quantum cabin. I'll get more into this in a little bit. Um, and then just above that, you'll see Icarus. Icarus is basically low thrust jet engines designed to make you hover. So you could essentially make a hover vehicle with Dawn's Children technology. Um, Moving into the build thing now. So this is why I wanted to wait to talk about cabins and stuff. The build menu as seen here is pretty in depth. Um, when I took this screen cap, I took a picture of the frame, which is where everything is built on top of it. This is my current vehicle. That big block in the front is the cabin. The cabin is what provides the engine power and the other stats related to the overall vehicle. Essentially, it's the most important piece that you put on a frame. All the other stuff, like those walls on the side, are really just extra pieces of stuff for the enemy to get through before they have to start hitting the other modules. Um, Energy levels are listed. This basically tells you what modules and or weapons you can use. There's also tonnage, or mass, whatever you want to call it, how many parts it can accept. There's a whole bunch of things here to worry about in the build menu. Um, so that's why I was waiting to talk about the Dawn's Children. We'll flip back to that again, um, because now that you can see how complex this build is, um, we can now talk about the cabin stuff. So as far as I'm able to tell, the Dawn's Children have the lightest and fastest cabin in the game. Steppenwolfs and scavengers have the heaviest. So it all depends on your playstyle and how you wish to do things. Again, but as it stands with the open beta, there's plenty of ways to do that, despite the slight imbalance, or at least the issue of relying on ammo. Now that I've kind of talked about the game, I want to get into the problems. I mentioned one, which is the weapons. There are other things too, such as this game is too grindy. It takes a long time to get through the factions. The resource cost is too high, not just in currency, but the materials that you have to find. Then there is other issues such as the modules being too weak. Melee weapons are too strong. The list goes on of issues that they have right now. I do understand it's open beta, so I'm gonna hope that they will fix this once they start going into um, like actually releasing this game, should that happen down the road. We have yet to see if they'll stick to it. But yeah, I guess that's really the most I have to say. If my post gets approved, I will post it for you in the description. That way you can read more of some of the things that I was saying about its problems. That's the most I have. Thanks for listening.